The silence was suffocating. No alarms, no chatter, no orders shouted over static-laced channels. Just the hum of backup systems, the occasional clink of a piece of shattered hull bumping gently against the side of the scout vessel, and the soft mechanical whir of internal life support recycling oxygen in a loop. It wasn't built to run alone for this long. Lieutenant Miles floated in his harness, helmet off, staring through the half-cracked viewport. The stars out there hadn't changed, cold and indifferent as always, but what filled the space between them had. Wreckage. Chunks of twisted plating spun slowly in a silent ballet. A flag, one of the old cruiser pennants, still bearing the mark of the Imperial Dawn, floated past, torn nearly in half. The tattered threads waved gently in zero gravity as it drifted out of view. There were bodies, too. He didn't want to admit it, but they were there. Frozen, most of them. Some still strapped into open canopy fighters, their faces locked in expressions no one should ever see. Others just adrift, drifting endlessly like they were still hoping to catch a ride out. Miles tapped a button on the comms panel, but there was still nothing. No return pings, no signals, just static. His lips were cracked, his skin dry. They weren't supposed to be out this long. Recon ships like his were for forward eyes, not for surviving the apocalypse. Personal log, Lieutenant Miles, TFV Ure, Scout Vessel Designation 8 Zeta 4. Timestamp. He looked at the cracked chronometer. It blinked nonsense. He exhaled through his nose. Timestamp unknown. He paused, letting the silence linger. Gloriana is gone. The whole fleet is gone. All of it. The words felt unreal, like he was reading a report, not speaking truth into a void. They didn't even have a fleet, he muttered, more to himself than the recorder. That's what they said. High Command. The last of the enemy navy was vaporized 20 years ago. Nothing left but raids and scattered pirates. We were here to finish it. Final battle. Final war. He scoffed, a bitter sound. Not quite a laugh, not quite a cry. We thought we were gods, he said, sitting up there on our thrones of steel and plasma, watching the show from orbit. We brought an entire armada to destroy a single planet. He glanced again at the debris field. In the distance, a capital ship's rear half tumbled lazily, its fusion drive core long since cracked open like an egg. Gloriana's front section was still faintly recognizable if you knew what to look for. The sweeping bow, the jagged silhouette of its forward hangar doors, now frozen in a half-open scream. It wasn't them, the Loranis. It couldn't have been. Whatever hit us, they had tech beyond anything we've ever seen, a shield so bright you could see it from light minutes away. Lasers that moved faster than light, beams you could see. Something in the beams. Some kind of visible medium, and the size. By the apostles, the size. He let out a slow breath, glancing at the oxygen readout. He still had a couple days. Maybe 3 if he cut heating. Maybe less. He didn't really want to know. I don't think this was about defending a planet or revenge. It felt like a message. Like they wanted us to know what we walked into, like they wanted to make sure everyone knew. The recon ship gave a soft groan as its interior adjusted to some minor shift in pressure. He didn't react. I haven't heard a single signal in over 6 hours. Not from command, not from other scouts, not even from the comms beacons we dropped. Nothing but wreckage. He reached over and manually rotated the viewing scope. The wreckage shifted, bringing into view something far away, a faint glimmer of movement, slow but deliberate. Something was still active out there, a silhouette barely visible against the black. Massive, crescent-shaped. "It's still here," he said, voice low. "I think it's still watching us." He leaned back and let the silence take over again. There was nothing left to say, just the field of corpses, the sound of failing systems, and the shape in the dark. The walls were thick down here, stone, steel, and sensor-dampening polymers layered together like a bunker within a bunker. Far above, the surface burned. They all knew that. Even this far underground, the tremors of orbital strikes reached the deep foundation in soft, stomach-sickening shudders. But here, inside Sub-Level 19 of the Empire Intelligence Archives, everything was cold, fluorescent, and quiet. Archivist Nell pressed her hand to the scanner. It took longer than usual. Systems were still recovering from whatever had scrambled the entire Empire's fleet command. When the lock finally clicked open with a subdued hiss, she turned to the man beside her. "You sure about this?" she asked, voice flat, but not without weight. "This case isn't scheduled for analysis until the High Council signs off." The man didn't answer at first. His face was covered, part synth mesh, part shadow, and his uniform bore no insignia. Just a matte black coat that seemed to swallow the light. His voice, when it came, was low and tired. "There's not going to be a council, not anymore." Nell didn't argue. She stepped aside, allowing him to approach the case. The object inside wasn't large, maybe the size of a helmet, but far heavier, dense with something the scanners couldn't categorize. It had been found adrift, lodged in the cracked remains of a battleship's spine. Most of the wreckage had vaporized. This didn't. This survived. It didn't match anything in the Imperial database. Not Federation, not Rebel, not even civilian industrial. The material it was made from wasn't registered under any known element category. Not reactive, not stable, just strange. Office. It shimmered faintly, but not in reflection. It seemed to glow slightly, like it remembered light rather than reflected it. The agent placed gloved hands on either side of the case and leaned in. "I need it out," he said. Nell hesitated. "It hasn't been cleared for—" "I know. I don't care." After a second, she sighed and keyed in the override. The seal broke with a dry hiss, and cold air washed over them. Inside the case, the object sat motionless. A shard, curved like a rib or a talon, completely black save for a single etching. An eye surrounded by 6 stars, carved not into the surface but through it, without breaking the molecular structure. There were no tool marks, no thermal scoring, not even subatomic displacement. It simply was. "What is that?" Nell asked, voice suddenly quieter. The agent didn't answer. He reached inside, carefully lifting the shard. It was warm. "It's not Federation," she said again, needing to say something. "No," he agreed. "Not Federation." He turned it slowly in his hands. "I think it was watching us." Nell frowned. "It? Whatever made this. It was watching the war, maybe not from the beginning, maybe not even for long. But when it saw how we chose to end it, when it saw the fleet gather over a planet that couldn't fight back, I think that's when it decided to get involved. She looked at the shard. And this is... what? A warning? I don't know, he said. A warning. A calling card, maybe both. Maybe more. There was a long silence between them, broken only by the subtle hum of deep systems still reinitializing. Nell folded her arms. We brought everything, the entire armada, left nothing behind. He nodded. And they left one ship, she finished. Another nod. And that was enough. She exhaled slowly. Then the war's not over. The agent finally looked at her. No, he said. It never was. There was no sky anymore. The sun, gone. The orbital stations, gone. The comms arrays, towers, satellites, cities, gone. Above them, the air shimmered with radioactive dust and orbital residue, slowly settling into the poisoned bones of the world. But beneath, far below the crust of Loranes, something still lived. It was not much, less than 300 souls, soldiers, scientists, children, survivors, Federation citizens who had seen the sky burn and made it into the dark before the light consumed everything. They called it the Burrow. It had been built in the early days of the war, before defeat had a scent, before Last Stand became a logistical designation. Hardened walls, old power lines, atmospheric reclamators that wheezed like sick lungs. It wasn't meant to be a sanctuary. It was meant to be a delay. But delay had become survival. In the dim central chamber, a boy coughed, a dry, empty sound, lungs scraping in too thin air. He clung to his mother, too young to understand what the tremors above had meant, too old to believe in the lies she whispered to him. Eleni knelt beside them, placing a cloth-wrapped canister of filtered water at the woman's side. "Tell him it's just a storm," she said quietly. "Not the sky." The mother nodded, her face hollow and unreadable. The boy clung tighter. In the next chamber, a group of officers stood over a flickering holomap. It was a lie. The sensors feeding it had died 3 hours ago, but none of them wanted to turn it off. They preferred the illusion of clarity, of control. The last pulse came from above the pole, one of them murmured. The sky lit up before the feed cut out. "Did anything come through?" someone else asked. "Any message?" Number just static. Then silence. A third voice cut through, steady and tired. "Then it's done." General Revka. She had led the last orbital defense wing. She was supposed to die with the rest of the fleet, but her shuttle had taken damage and crash-landed in the Burrow's eastern shaft. Half her face was scarred from the impact. Her right eye glowed faintly blue, artificial now. It never blinked. The others looked to her, waiting for instruction, for reassurance, for hope. She offered none. "They're dead," she said. "All of them. The Gloriana, the fleet, the Empire." A silence passed over the room like a tide. "We won?" someone said, not understanding. Revka shook her head. "Number we survived." "That's different." Another voice came from the rear. "Ma'am," it was the comms tech, barely more than a teenager, covered in soot and solder burns. He held up a small handheld receiver, its display cracked but glowing. "We got something." Revka moved to him, took the device carefully. The screen displayed garbled symbols at first, then words, barely decipherable. "It is done. The Empire sleeps, but the stars are watching. Stay hidden. Stay ready. The real war has yet to begin." Someone whispered behind her. "Is it from the human? The one who spoke through the broadcast?" "Maybe," Revka said. "Do we trust it?" She looked down the long, curved hall toward the sleeping quarters, toward the children, toward the families that hadn't seen light in days. Her voice was quiet but clear. "We don't have the luxury of not trusting it." She handed the device back, turned to the officers. "Tell them to eat what we can spare. Get them moving. We leave before nightfall." "Where will we go?" one asked. She paused, thought about lying, decided not to. "I don't know, somewhere, anywhere, away from this tomb." They moved quickly after that, quiet, practiced, like people who'd been waiting for permission to hope. Generators kicked to life, packs were filled, old weapons were pulled from sealed crates, oiled by hand, checked, loaded. Not for glory, for survival. In a smaller room, Eleni stood over a table, brushing the dust from a worn data pad. The light flickered. She hesitated, then opened the file. Images loaded. Slowly, pictures of Federation cities before the fire, green valleys, oceans with rings of light over them. A smiling child, her brother maybe, or her son. She touched the screen with trembling fingers, then closed the file and slipped the pad into her satchel. Footsteps approached. "Eleni," Revka said, "it's time." She nodded, slinging the satchel over her shoulder. "Where are we going?" Revka didn't answer immediately. Her gaze lingered on the old stone above them, the cracks that had never stopped widening. Then she turned. Up. Together they walked down the long corridor toward the service hatch. Above them, the world was ash. But something had shattered the myth of the Empire. Something had answered death with silence, and then, with strength, they would rise into that silence. And if there was still something left to fight for, some truth behind the warnings, some justice behind the vengeance, they would find it. They were no longer citizens, no longer soldiers, just survivors in a world that had changed without asking them, and still breathing, still here. The hatch opened with a grinding groan. Sunlight didn't pour in, but light, however faint, was there, and it was enough.